I read 20 books in 2023, and while that's not a very fancy number like, say, 100, it's good. It's enough. I loved most of the books that I read this year, and that's what's most important. I simply said no to all those risky reads or even those new books I wanted to support because that's a responsible thing for me to do, or it would make me some money or get me some more views. That's the new management style of the Indian Booktuber channel. More on this later, but first, let me tell you about some of my lowest rated reads of 2023. On the top of the list is Shadow and Bone by Lee Bardugo. I simply despise this book series at this point. I spent around $100 getting this series and then even getting the Six of Crows duology, which I'm told is still better. But I won't be touching Lee Bardugo books again ever. I'm sorry, I know many of you feel differently and I respect that. But for me, there's so much wrong in the very first book, Shadow and Bone, that it was a big deal. I even tried the book too. I DNF'd it after a few pages because it kept going on and on for like 50 pages and the story hadn't even started yet. And no, this isn't coming from the modern generation with the attention span of a goldfish. This is me. I love long books. I'm currently almost done with this fluffy drama and murder mystery that's 400 pages long. I can read long books, but I simply cannot read books that don't have a good story, flow, and an engaging world. Shadow and Bone by Lee Bardugo was the worst for me. It's clear I'm never picking Lee Bardugo books again. Anyway, at the bottom of my favorites, you'll also find all the Colleen Hoover books. They are famous on TikTok, bestsellers, and all I want to say is all the people loving these books need to find better books to read. Again, I'm sorry if this sounds offensive, and it's not like you are wrong if you like these books. I myself don't dislike them. But if these are like your favorite reads or best books you have ever read, you have a problem. For me, I didn't like Verity. It's a thriller and apparently it's excellent. It's not. It's just disturbing and senseless. It ends with us, the book that kind of put Colleen Hoover on the map. It's a fairly well read. The story doesn't have too much and it's mostly a one-time read, and that too for those of you who really want to read it because of the hype. The second book in the series, It Starts With Us, it shouldn't have been started in the first place. The book could have been a chapter or simply a story that didn't need to be told. Anyway, for those of you who are already out with your furiously typing fingers, tapping on your phone to tell me how wrong I am and how dare I say this about these books, or speak like that about these books at all, or any books at all, I get a lot of comments like that these days. This is my only explanation to attempt to save myself from your wrath. See, books need a major investment of time. You put in a lot of trust and faith in a book when you pick it up. So it's natural for me or anybody to be upset or even furious when our time was simply wasted, a few more hours of effort, or simply not writing a certain book just for the sake of raking in money, and we would not have felt like this. We would not have felt this betrayal. On top of it, these 4 books I spoke of were my very first reads of the year. Obviously, I am upset. But here's what happened then. I decided to just be very careful and ruthless with my book choices. Of course, I was in a slump for a long time, and after that, I decided that. But you get the point. I still found some not so hit books, but most were good after I made this decision. I read a few short stories or novellas, which includes The Red-Headed League by Arthur Conan Doyle. Yes, it's a Sherlock Holmes story and it was a good one. Then I read The Perfect Murder by Stacey Omnier, The Interruption by W. Jacobs, He Said It with Arsenic by Ruskin Bond, and a few more short stories written by various authors, all compiled into a book called The Perfect Murder by Ruskin Bond. Honestly, this one, I think the stories compiled in this book are good. It's a nice, quick read, interesting, fulfilling, and that's saying something when I say it, because I'm like that person who's always upset when it comes to short stories. I just don't enjoy them enough. So when I say this was decent, you need to hear it was good. Simple. Anyway, I read a good count of non-fiction books in 2023. My least favorite of these was Dopamine Detox by Thibaut Muris. Sorry for my pronunciation, okay? Well, blame me for this for sure. Not for pronunciation, but like not liking this book, because I have this habit of picking up these random books available on Prime Reading, unless these are by a well-known author or a book that's really like acclaimed, critically acclaimed or something. Only thing these books are good for is being an example of what thin content looks like. Dopamine Detox was quite like that, thin content, mostly written to make some money but offering no real value. Blame me for still reading the whole thing and wasting my time on it. So it's my mistake. I accept it. Sorry. Anyway, another somewhat disappointing read for me was 50 Films That Changed Bollywood by Shubhra Gupta. Firstly, if you follow me on Instagram, you would know how I sort of read this book for months. It's basically like it has these 50 chapters, one dedicated to each film, and each chapter first has the review published by the author when the film actually came out, and then in the second half of each chapter, she speaks about the impact of these movies in the Bollywood industry or on our culture and in our society. It's actually a very valuable and a new type of book that I tried out. I'm happy and grateful to this book and author for that. I got to read so many reviews all together and gain so many ideas and perspectives about Bollywood. The only reason I felt disappointed with it was because it was boring. It wasn't an easy to get through book. The writing felt too tight and just wasn't engaging enough for me to enjoy it. I started off with liking it very much, and then some pages in, my soul was crying, as it was being dragged through this book. Still, I would recommend this book to those of you who are interested in learning about the history of Bollywood movies, especially between 1995 and 2015. The book has some great industry insights related to that. I also read two really cool books on writing: Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert and Letters to a Young Writer by Colum McCann. Elizabeth Gilbert, or Gilbert, she's famous for Eat, Pray, Love, which is a book I have owned a physical copy of for nearly a decade. I have tried reading it twice and again couldn't get past like 150 pages. It's a curse. I'm beginning to now fully believe in that I have read so many books where I have like read 100 or 150 pages and then just DNF'd it. It just wastes so much of my time. Anyway, the Eat, Pray, Love, it's just too boring. But this one, The Big Magic, it's all about creative living, and the concepts and the ideas the author introduced in this book are like amazing. A huge thank you to her, even though she'll never see this video of mine. I'm not famous enough, but hey, I'm glad you are watching this video. Can you like and comment too? Anyway, I do have a more in-depth video planned about this one, so I won't share a lot here, but if you're looking for books on writing, it's worth picking up. So is the Letters to a Young Writer by Colum McCann. This one feels more like practical advice on writing, so I'm not that emotionally moved by the book, but it was worth reading too. I also read Ideas on Demand by an Indian author called Milind Hardas. It's about developing your creative skills, boosting creativity, and it's such a practical book. I loved this one too. I also read these two books that sort of helped me with my anxiety and self-image issues: Unwinding Anxiety and The Mountain Is You. Both are actually very useful books, which I definitely want to summarize and memorize for myself. I've already put the whole summary and what I learned from this book about like the mountain is you on the channel, which I'll link down below in the description. These key learning videos, which I'm sure you have noticed that a few of them have come up in the past, I'm mostly making these for myself, just so you know, if you are a regular viewer of the channel. Forgive me for being so selfish, but here's what was happening. I was documenting, I kind of have documented my reading so much, but it has always been about you guys, the audience who watches it, the person who watches it, and I love doing that. But in that race for more views and more love from the audience, I kept losing the essential learnings and experiences that make me love reading. So I ended up not loving reading books at all. I decided to change that in 2023 after my first few reads, and best decision ever. I may not get a ton of views with key learning videos that I'm doing. They're not the summary videos either, because I don't like them either. They're just my perspectives and learnings from the books that captured, that kind of like captured my attention, and that I have captured in a video format, mostly for myself, so I don't have to sit through like 15 to 30 hours of rereading after a few months just because I forgot the lessons from the book. So this way, I'm freezing my memories and experiences from the book in a video, and this is great for my personal improvement. I hope as a regular viewer of the Indian Booktuber channel, you'll support me with these videos as well, but in case they're too long and boring for you, just skip them, okay? Watch the next video. They're going to be full of info though, just a bit boring and not optimized for the algorithm, or for like our current attention spans. Anyway, coming down to 3 interesting fiction reads. Halloween Party by Agatha Christie. Good book. It's I have read better books by Agatha Christie, but hey, this is my Agatha Christie books project being continued, and I'm finally making more progress in that, so I am happy. And there's a full review of this and 11 other Agatha Christie books on the channel freezed into one playlist that I'll link down below. In case you are new to the channel, you definitely want to check that out. Anyway, the next one is The Burnout by Sophie Kinsella. It's a nice one-time read. It was just fine, you know. I'm glad I read this. It was a nice break to read something light and contemporary. Sometimes you just need that. Lastly, I'm always thrilled to read some Anuja Chauhan books. Whenever she publishes a new book, I have been trying to like catch that book as soon as possible. So obviously, I picked up her latest book, The Fast and the Dead. This time I didn't digest the local flavor as much as I usually do, but you know, that's a good thing. I got introduced to a story set in Bangalore, not Delhi or Mumbai like usual, and it was funny. It had a lot of stuff about dogs, although it was sad that one of them was literally like shot by a crazy old lady. But it was funny. The book was very funny. After all, it's Anuja Chauhan. This is like the second whodunit written by the author, and I think she did a much better job in this one than her previous book. I will put up the review of this book very soon on the channel, and if you want to catch the review of like the previous whodunit that Anuja Chauhan had written, I will link it down below in the description. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you about my most favorite book of 2023. That's Lessons in Chemistry. It's not a book about chemistry. First of all, you need to note that down. Okay. It is simply a book that needs no introduction and explanation. You just have to read this book. It's too good to miss out on. So go read it now. So all in all, I'm wrapping up 2023 on a good note, and I'm so grateful to the universe and all these great authors who write great books. So thank you, and I'm also grateful to all of you who have been catching my videos. And if you have been a viewer of the channel for a long time, thank you for still watching my videos, sticking with me even when, you know, there was a dry patch on the channel for like 7-8 months. We are back. We are making continuous progress and videos and stuff like that. So if you're watching, thank you. Hope you have a happy new year, and I'm grateful, you know, about all of this. So yeah, thank you so much. That's all for this one. See you in the next video. And I'm also wondering, let me know in the comments down below if you think, if you say yes or no. I want to really know if I should bring back like the usual outro, which was just like, hey guys, thanks for watching. This might be signing off, and I'll be back with another video very soon. Should I bring it back or no? Yes or no? Comment.